Doug Lehman, breaking it down in layman's terms. I got a special guest, a good friend of mine, Larry Levine, coming from California. You know him from Selling from the Heart podcast, a dynamic sales leader, trainer, leveraging social and engagement. Larry, good to see you again, my man.
It's always good to see you, Doug. Always good. We're going to have a great time.
We're going to have a great time. Now, last time we met face-to-face, and the only time we really met face-to-face was at the Outbound Sales Conference.
Can you believe that?
Yes.
I feel like we talk so often. I felt like I just saw you just the other day.
Exactly. You know, the thing about social and engagement, you know, we connected online a few years back before Outbound, but taking those conversations that you meet online, offline, it's awesome to meet face-to-face. And unfortunately, we are not doing much face-to-face traveling right now as we are in this virtual world.
No, but here's the thing, though, is you can still connect so well in this world that we're living in right now virtually. It's how you bring yourself to life, right? And I remember we had a guest not too long ago on the podcast, and just I'm going to give a special shout out to Tasia Valenza. She came on the podcast. Tasia's an Emmy award-winning voiceover actress here in Los Angeles, and she was saying something I think is so relevant today, Doug. Is she went on to say that salespeople need to become actors and actresses behind the screen. And it's how we bring ourselves to life. It's how we invite people into a conversation. It's the tonality. It's our voice inflection. And it's how we connect. And I'm just going to, obviously it'll be a play off the book. It's how we connect at the heart level. We can still do all this virtually, but it's a mindset thing.
Oh, I agree.
I think so many people are missing the boat to really connect in this virtual world, but we got to connect with meaning. And we have to put some effort behind this.
You got to put effort in. And since, like you're saying, we're in this virtual world, and I love just what you share with shout out with the lady, the presence and acting and everything, we can get in the heart concept, but just having it visually engaging, because I think right now doing these virtual calls, it's opened up the door besides doing an email or doing a phone call. You can still have fun. I mean, look, I got to get some housekeeping out of the way. I got to give you a tip of the hat.
But you can see what's over my shoulder. You can see the Dodger cap over my shoulder, Lehman. So we know who won.
Yeah, I'm giving it to you.
The Braves, I'm going to tell you, the Braves should have won when you're up 3-1 and you blow it.
Hey, that's what Atlanta does well in sports. Okay. Don't give me John Barros and everybody else from Boston about, 28-3 and down 3-1. It is what it is. But Dodgers knocked on the door. They've been knocking at it, and they kicked it down, and they got it done. And in your Lakers, I don't know if you're a Laker fan, but LA's had a pretty good.
I'm a diehard LA sports fan, Doug.
So
it's been a great year.
Great year for that. Sports for you have been good. COVID, not so much. It's one of those things. On this, Selling from the Heart. Now, I've read the book, done some video book reviews. If you haven't got his book, people, definitely check it out. Your Authentic Self. But it's a reflection book. And one of the things that I really took away in layman's terms was a self-reflection journal. It forced me in engagement to look at myself, and I like that. I like the accountability piece you put in the book.
I appreciate it. And, I always say the inner work, the inner heart work is the hardest work that we're going to do. And, when I put the book together, it was just a journey. It was a journey of, I reconnected with myself, Doug, as I wrote Selling from the Heart. I look back at almost 30 years in sales. And the one thing that I looked at and why I wrote the book the way I did is there wasn't one sales manager, one sales leader that ever helped me become the best version of myself, because all the training, all the workshops that I ever went through was all product centric, company centric, had a piece of deal together, all stuff that's important. But there wasn't one time that I ever went somewhere to a workshop or a training that helped me become the best version of myself. And I go, you know what? When I bring Selling from the Heart to the forefront, and the way I wrote the book was the first half of that book is working on yourself. Because if you can't self-reflect on who you are, really get in tune with who you are, it's going to be hard to connect. And we must connect with ourselves in order to connect with our clients, our buyers out into the marketplace. And I didn't really realize the impact the book was going to make. And it's at that heart level. And yeah, it might be mushy gushy stuff, and that's okay.
Well, you know what? On that, and I know you finished your thought here.
No,
when you first talked about the book to me before I actually met you, you said, "Hey, Doug, we're going to meet at Outbound, but I'm working on this book, Selling from the Heart." And I go, "Okay, a motivational, heartfelt, blah." But, in my mind, I was not to you, but we're thinking it. But then I got the book. We talked about it, and it's telling your journey. But there's a lot of great sales leaders that are endorsing this book. That's the first thing. The forward's magnificent, but the content is, self-reflection journal, no empty suits. You're sharing your heart and soul for this. So it's not a touchy-feely, get in with your feelings, but you got to have the feelings to adjust and be able to be your true self, authentic self, to be able to work with your clients.
Period. Yeah, and I always say, again, I have no PhD, and I tell people this, right? Is I have no PhD in psychology, human behavior. I have no master's in any of this. I tell people I earned a PhD from getting the crap kicked out of me my whole life in sales. Right. And I'm just bringing real and relevant and relatable stuff to the forefront because it's time, right? When I say it's time, is I'm pushing the message and I'm raising the awareness that if you want to become a sales professional, you're going to have to do certain things, Doug. And there's way too many sales reps out there. There's not enough sales professionals. Sales professionals connect to themselves. They bring the best version of themselves out there. They connect at the heart level. They get real with themselves. They don't BS anyone. They give a rip.
They give a rip, and it's outlined throughout the book. Now, since the book has been out for a while, what's the biggest impact that you, I guess, weren't aware of what would come from the book? I mean, obviously it's helped your career. It's helped give you more visibility, but can you speak on the aftermath of the book? Yeah,
it's, when actually I'm just going to take you back for just a second.
Sure.
Prior to the book, and the book's been a blessing in disguise, is, we started the Selling from the Heart podcast 3.5 years ago. And no audience. It was just the thought, right? That's really how Selling from the Heart was born. Doug was born through the podcast. And I'm a big believer in this. Words matter and message matters. Words matter and message matters. And it's the media behind how we deliver that that's really key. And through the Selling from the Heart podcast and getting the message out around sincerity and substance and bringing your heart to the sales profession and how you connect, the book was born. But the book was a promise that I made to my wife when we got married 29 years ago that I'd write a book. I just didn't know how long it would take to write the book. But when Selling from the Heart came out, I didn't know what to expect, Doug. I really didn't. I always tell people, I expected to sell a few hundred copies to friends and family and things like that. I had no idea that the book would catapult a movement around the world around sincerity, substance, and heart. And I want to give a special shout out to Mark Hunter because he's a near and dear friend of mine. And I remember the day after my book came out, Mark Hunter calls me on the phone and he says, Larry, he goes, the true testament of your book will be 18 months after the book comes out. You'll see the true impact of the book. That's 1.5 years, right? But he gave me the best piece of advice the day after my book launched, Doug, and he says, bring your book to life. Bring your book to life and watch what starts to happen.
Now, I'm gonna add on that. And I remember at Outbound, because obviously Mark's obviously an integral part of that. He said, Larry, it's time for you to bring the empty suit to life.
Yeah.
So that's my segue into the empty suit, but I'll let you finish what you were saying. But
but I'll touch on that because the empty suits chapter 10 of Selling from the Heart is one of my favorite chapters of the book. I laughed writing it, the whole chapter, but there's a real strong point behind that message. I had no idea. So here we are 2 years later, and Selling from the Heart has just become, I still pinch myself. I'm blessed that the message has resonated. I poured my heart into this book. I just didn't really realize that the book would resonate the way it did and that people latch onto the message, because that first half gets you to think about yourself. The last half of the book is all the skills that you need to lead that genuine, authentic lifestyle. But it's that empty, and so I'll bring it up because, it was a couple years at Outbound, and I remember walking back from dinner with Mark Hunter, and he goes, Larry, I think your defining moment will be if you can bring the empty suit to life. And I remember at Outbound, you saw it, Doug, right? I luckily I had an extra suit, and I propped the suit up on a chair, and literally I had the shoes were there. Basically everything was there. It was a suit. I had a tie around a shirt and all that. And people were walking up, taking pictures with it.
Oh no. And it was a great, cause I'm a visual guy, and I'm capturing those moments through video and interviews like we're doing now, but it brought a lot. And it's just, it's something that stood up. But I like what you said about the second half of the book, because the second half of the book, we get through identifying yourself, connecting with your clients, but there's a lot of sales tips. It's tactical, practical, and applicable book. Okay. It's heartfelt, but it's a lot more than that. So I encourage you, if you haven't got a copy of the book, check out that. And definitely check out what Larry and Daryl Amy, I want to be remiss not to mention Daryl, integral part of the Selling from Heart team, and your podcast. How's that working out for you?
Again, it's in fact, it was probably within the last 5 or 6 days. I'm having a conversation with Daryl. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for two people, Daryl, Amy, and my wife, for really pushing me into doing this. And I shared with him just the other day, I said, I'm just blown away. I'm blown away how the message is resonating. I'm blown away with how the book is resonating. And if there's one thing that I've learned how to do is stay in my lane. I stay in the lane. I don't veer from it. I bring out into the world what I think is sorely, sorely lacking in sales. And it's the guests that we have to come on the podcast. I try to bring unique and genuine and heartfelt guests to the podcast. I source all of our guests based on how would their message resonate in the sales world, and we don't deviate from it.
No, you don't.
Deviate it through the podcast, through the messaging in the book, through how I work with my clients. We stay in our lane, and we know the lane. And to me, it's about bringing sincerity, substance, and heart back to the sales profession, and how you connect, engage, and relate to your clients.
Sincerity, substance, and heart with your guests. And I've obviously listened to the show, and one day I can hope to be on the show. Joking.
Well, hey, we'll figure out what we'll make that happen.
Pre-qualified. No, I just had to get that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long list.
I know.
In order to get on there.
I understand.
If you really want to get on the podcast, next time we do one of these, you got to sport an LA Dodgers hat, and then I'll bump you to the top of the list.
Okay, I get it. And and I know that Daryl. Speaking of Daryl, he's got I just glossed over that. Daryl's got a new book out as well. Huh? Daryl's got a new book out as well, so we would give him acknowledgement on that as well. So that is good stuff. Hey, Larry, it's true pleasure connecting with you virtually here through the power of video. In layman's terms, I'd like to have you get the last word. So drop the mic on us for us, please.
We'll drop the virtual mic. How's that?
You can.
And again,
shot.
Yeah, I'm a big believer about bringing sincerity, substance, and heart to the forefront. I mean, that's first and foremost. But the second thing is let's look at the world that we're living in today. We got to learn how to connect both in I hate to say we go back to the face-to-face world. We got to look at how we connect, right, the way we used to. And we also have to learn how to connect in this virtual world. The way we're going to connect in this virtual world is we got to bring our best versions of ourselves forward. And I always say this, and I'll leave with this, is we got to stop hiding behind our keyboards. In the world that we're living in today, Doug, we must stop hiding behind keyboards. If you really want to connect with somebody, and I'll give a special shout out to Ethan Butte and Steve Passanelli over at BombBomb. I'm a huge BombBomb believer. They wrote a really great book, Rehumanize Sales. And the way that we're going to rehumanize sales in this, I'll call it this hybrid world that we're living in, we got to stop hiding behind keyboards. We got to push ourselves through a screen, and we got to invite people into a conversation. And if you struggle to do that now, you're going to have a hard time in sales. It's about connecting, relating, and being real, raw, and relatable with your clients and out in your marketplace. I
love it, Larry. I look forward to reconnecting with you soon. If you haven't checked out Selling from the Heart podcast, Larry Levine, his company, the book, watch the video reviews. There's no need to say any more about social proof. It is legit. It's authentic. It's real. Don't hide behind the keyboard. Everything Larry was putting down, we're taking down. So Larry Levine, thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you soon.
It was my pleasure. It's always good talking to you, Doug.
Thank you.